There's no denying that Smashing Pumpkins have had their fair share of big hits, but there are a ton of awesome songs in the Pumpkins catalog beyond just the big singles that should have had their chance to blow away the masses but didn't get their chance to shine. Here are my top 10 Smashing Pumpkins songs that should have been hits. Number 10, Frail and Bedazzled. Similar to Oasis, who of course I talk a lot about here on the channel, Smashing Pumpkins are a great B-sides band, and their B-sides album, Pisces Iscariot from 1994, features a lot of great songs from the Gish and Siamese Dream eras. And also similar to Oasis, it's a shame that a lot of those great songs were relegated to being B-sides when they could have been big hits in their own right. One of those songs is Frail and Bedazzled, which is a perfect encapsulation of the Pumpkins sound at the time. Big muff-fueled fuzz guitars, ferocious drumming, and a snarling vocal from Billy Corgan. It's one of the best Pumpkins rockers, and I could just hear it bursting out of a million speakers, getting 90s kids everywhere headbanging. It just feels like such a lost opportunity to have another great Pumpkins rocker on the radio. Not that every track has to be a hit song on the radio, but the band could have had way more hits than they did during their 90s heyday. Before we continue, guys, if you like this video, make sure to toss me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. If you like what I'm doing here on the channel, make sure to smash the subscribe button so we can rock out together and you don't miss out on future videos. All right, let's get back to it. In at number 9, we have The Chimera. I am a Pumpkins fan who will sing the praises of Oceania until the end of time, and as far as I'm concerned, it's the best Pumpkins album since Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. And that's due to the songwriting on the record. Not only does the album have awesome melodies for days, it has some killer guitar riffs on it as well. One of those guitar riffs is on The Chimera. It's got a mesmerizing, almost synthy feel to it that explodes into one of the best Pumpkins songs of that era. Whereas some of the later Pumpkin songs, especially on more recent albums, have melodies that you kind of have to dig into a little bit to enjoy, the melody on this one is instantly catchy, as are a lot of the songs on the Oceania album. In at number 8, we have Tom Tom. The Teargarden by Kaleidoscope era is not really one that's super well known or loved by casual Smashing Pumpkins fans, but it was this ambitious 44-song project where the Pumpkins released each song one by one online and then compiled it into an album that never really materialized. But there were some really great songs during that era: Freak, Widow Wake My Mind, and this one, Tom Tom. This track might have one of the catchiest choruses of any of the latter era Pumpkins tracks. Billy really has been hit or miss when it comes to, that catchiness on more recent albums, but he still had some great hooks during this era. I do seem to remember the Smashing Pumpkins performing Widow Wake My Mind on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno of all places back in the day, and that one was a good tune, but Tom Tom really was the song that could have been a big hit for the Pumpkins at a time when they could have used a big hit. And at number 7, we have Here Is No Why. I know. Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness is already stacked with huge hits, and really they did release the best songs as singles from that album. But Here's No Why is one of those songs that I think would have made a solid radio hit. It's got that nice crunchy riff in the verse. It breaks into a euphoric, catchy Smashing Pumpkins chorus and has all the makings of a great single. It may not be as angsty as some of the big songs from Melancholy, like Bullet with Butterfly Wings or Zero, but you know what? It's sandwiched right in between those songs on the track list of disc 1 of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, so it's worthy of being a hit on its own. But it's not like Melancholy didn't produce its fair share of hits. This album is a hit factory. In at number 6, we have This Time. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the Machina era and the singles released from the record like The Everlasting Gaze, Stand Inside Your Love, and Try, Try, Try. But there's no denying that these songs weren't really the band's biggest hits and really didn't do the job of selling the Machina album to a mainstream audience. But the thing is, there are songs on Machina that might have had more impact, and one of those songs is This Time. I think This Time would have made a much better third single from Machina than Try, Try, Try. To get more general listeners on board, it's got a really nice melody and is generally a more pleasant song than Everlasting Gaze, which is spiky and snarly, and Stand Inside Your Love, which is a great song, but a little bit overdramatic. I think This Time would have made a great hit song during a time, again, when the Pumpkins really needed a hit. In at number 5, we have Muzzle. I know. How can I argue that Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness needs more hits? This is the album that gave us Bullet with Butterfly Wings, Zero, Hero, Tonight Tonight in 1979. But you know what? I think there's a good argument that Muzzle would have made a great single from the record. And it's kind of buried on track 12 on disc 1 of the album, but I think it's by far one of the catchiest rockers on Melancholy. You got Billy singing about fearing being ordinary amidst a wall of Fuzzy Pumpkins guitars. It has all the makings of a great radio single. I love a song like 33, which was the last single released from the album, but I think Muzzle would have made an even better last single, would have left casual listeners with an even better lasting impression, and would have been a huge hit if given the proper spotlight. And at number 4 on my top 10 Smashing Pumpkins songs that should have been hits, we have Panopticon. I've said it before and I'll say it again, Oceania is a great album. I already included the Chimera on this list. You know what? This album has some of the best written melodies and riffs this side of the Siamese Dream era. And Panopticon has a huge riff and a catchy as hell chorus. It should have gotten a bigger release. And when you think about it, a lot of the Smashing Pumpkins choices for singles over the years have been kind of weak when they've had great radio-worthy songs just sitting there as album tracks or B-sides. Billy Corgan loves to complain that fans only want the big rock sound from the Pumpkins, and don't get me wrong, we do, but when he does it, he tends to hide that side of the band from the masses in favor of the more arty, ballady side of the band. And I love both sides of the Smashing Pumpkins. I'm a big fan of all the different styles that Billy Corgan and the band have done over the years, but if he wants more mainstream audiences to embrace the modern Pumpkin sound, he's got to release the best songs. And at number 3, we have Dross. In 1999, Smashing Pumpkins reunited with original drummer Jimmy Chamberlin and played a series of shows called the Arising Tour, playing a ton of Machina-era Pumpkins tracks before the album actually came out. And I remember going on the internet with my dial-up connection and downloading some bootlegs of the show. I'm sorry, they were illegal bootlegs, but I remember being blown away by one song in particular, and that song was Dross. This is one of the Smashing Pumpkins' most crushing tracks with a punishing riff and a super catchy melody. It was definitely one of the best tracks that the band played on the Arising Tour. So imagine my disappointment when the song didn't end up on the track list for the first Machina album. Never mind that it wasn't a single, it wasn't even on the track list. Thankfully, we did eventually get the song on the second Machina album, The Friends and Enemies of Modern Music. This is my home burned copy that I made for myself back in the year 2000. But this album wasn't even officially released, and all we had were 128 kilobit vinyl rip versions of the album. And that is such a shame for a song as awesome as Dross. It could have been a huge single for the band. I love The Everlasting Gaze, but I always thought that Dross would have been a much stronger first single from the Machina era. And now we still don't have an official high-quality studio version of the song because the new Machina box set that the Smashing Pumpkins just released is currently only on vinyl and is very expensive. To not have a high-quality studio version of Dross in our collections after 25 years is one of the biggest crimes in all of rock and roll history. In at number 2, we have Let Me Give the World to You. I love Adore. It's actually the album that got me into the Pumpkins, but the singles released from the record, Ava, Adore, and Perfect, were not huge crossover hits like 1979 was from Melancholy. Let Me Give the World to You was a song recorded during the Adore sessions and was actually earmarked by the band's label to be the first single from the record until Billy Corgan pulled the plug on that plan and shelved the song until it was released on the second Machina album, The Friends and Enemies of Modern Music, and the Adore Deluxe Edition many years later. I think the basic gist of the story is that the label forced Billy to work with producer Rick Rubin on the song, and Billy felt that Let Me Give the World to You's pop ballad tone didn't really fit well with the rest of the more spooky and somber sound of Adore. And that is true. It doesn't really fit the vibe of the Adore album, but if it was released as a single, I really have no doubt that it would have been a huge radio hit for the Pumpkins at a time when they needed a big radio hit. And Billy will always complain that the Adore album didn't get its fair shake by the music public when it was released back in 1998, but maybe a little compromise with the label would have led to a bigger hit for the band. And in at number 1 on my top 10 Smashing Pumpkins songs that should have been hits, we have Mayonnaise. Siamese Dream is an album that is filled with hits. There's no doubt about that. Cherub Rock, Today, Disarm, Rocket, even the album tracks on Siamese Dream are hits. But there was one song on this record that I think deserved wider recognition, and that was Mayonnaise, a fan favorite Pumpkins track that could have been even bigger if it was given the radio single treatment. Of course, Disarm is the main ballad from Siamese Dream that everybody knows and loves, but I always felt that song to be a little too melodramatic. Mayonnaise has more of that classic Pumpkins melancholy feel to it. It really has a sweet melody and vocal from Billy Corgan, and it's a builder. It starts soft, but by the end of the song, you're singing your heart out. Again, I know that Mayonnaise is a huge Pumpkins fan favorite, but it's not a huge radio hit, and it's a song too damn good to not get recognition by a wider audience. And that is it, guys. That is my top 10 list of the Smashing Pumpkins songs that should have been hits. Let me know which songs you thought should have been hits in the comments below. Make sure to like this video if you like what I'm doing here on the channel. Make sure to smash the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos, and I'll see you guys again for another video here on the channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.